what better place to focus at the beginning of a conference on early childhood intervention than to start with a focus on family. Every day we have the privilege of working with families, building relationships with families, being invited into their homes, and importantly listening to their hopes and dreams about their children, and how lucky are we to call this work. So I'm really thrilled to introduce our next speaker, Stacey Touma. So Stacey is a parent to 3 young children. Her son Alex has Williams syndrome. She's passionate about her son living an inclusive life with all the same opportunities as his peers. Stacey is a peer worker at Plumtree, which is an early intervention provider. She facilitates the Now and Next program and works with families to build their capacity and leadership and to see a future of possibility for their children. So this is actually today the first time that Stacey and I have met in person, but we appear together in an ISEI video on family perspectives on early childhood intervention. So I sort of feel like I know her quite well, and we actually speak 5 different languages as well, which is very clever of us. So to say that Stacey was absolute gold in this video is an understatement. Her words of wisdom to other families on how to get the best out of early childhood intervention are empowering and extremely valuable for those starting on their ECI journey. So please join me in welcoming Stacey. Thanks.
Thank you, Denise, and the conference organising committee for allowing me this opportunity to be able to share my story with everyone. So my name is Stacey. My husband, Mark, and I have 3 wonderful children. Sammy is 8, Alex is 7, and Annalise is 5. So as you can imagine, life is very busy in our house. I still remember the day we got the diagnosis, like it was yesterday. My son, Alex, was 3 months old and recovering from open heart surgery. At an appointment with our paediatrician, I flagged that I thought something wasn't quite right. My paediatrician was amazing. She listened, she observed, she assessed. And after spending 2 hours with us, she agreed and sent us off for tests. This was a really scary time for our family. We were completely overwhelmed. We had no idea what to do. Being the person that I am, I became obsessed. I was in seeker mode. I was speaking to everyone I could and reading online into all hours of the night. I thought if I booked in for as many therapy sessions as possible, then everything would be okay. I don't even remember if we had a specific goal in mind other than attending therapy. Armed with a list of recommendations for therapists, I called around to get the first available appointment. My priority was to start ASAP. Everyone stressed that early intervention was critical, and I felt that sense of urgency. At the time, I thought early intervention was all about therapy and therapists. I thought the more therapy sessions I could book into, the better. At that time, we were following the therapist's lead and the priorities that they identified. I wouldn't question anything. I didn't provide any direction. I didn't think that was my role. I thought my role as a parent was to bring Alex to as many sessions as possible, and that the focus was purely on Alex. 2 years after Alex was born, we welcomed our 3rd child, Annalise, to the family. We now had 3 children under the age of 3, and all 3 of them used to have to attend their therapy sessions, not to participate, but more out of necessity, and it wasn't a lot of fun for them. They were bored, I was overwhelmed. It was around this time that I realised there must be a better way. It came to a head during a particularly stressful experience with a speech therapist who asked me not to bring my other children to the sessions. She thought they were distracting, and the only homework we were given was for me to sit at a table for a 20-minute block with an active 3-year-old doing activities that will teach him to speak. Can you imagine a small terrace house, 1 living space, trying to get a 3-year-old to sit quietly at a table for 20 minutes whilst trying to make sure his 1 and 4-year-old siblings didn't distract him? It was stressful for all of our family, and it wasn't realistic either. I felt like a failure, I questioned my own abilities, and my confidence plummeted. I knew this wasn't sustainable for our family, and that something had to change. Through a local Facebook group for mums, I heard about a local early intervention provider near me that offered not just therapy, but parent education workshops, free play groups, and events for parents to connect. I got in touch and was connected to a key worker. She worked with Alex and our family to support our goals. She was an occupational therapist, but was also able to work on Alex's language goals and will consult with her colleagues when specific expertise was required. She valued our family and our situation. She was happy for Sammy and Annalise to attend all the sessions and actually encouraged them to participate, and all of the home activities included all of our children. It was a light bulb moment for our family, and this was the beginning of our family-centered early intervention experience. Through our early intervention provider, I participated in the By Families for Families Now and Next program, along with a group of other parents. I learned a lot, both from the program, and also from the other families. It gave me confidence, and I recognized my role as an expert in my child and in my family. It gave me the confidence to step up and partner with professionals, and by being more proactive and involved, we achieved outcomes. I learned that by focusing on Alex's strengths and interests, that we could fast-track progress. I learned about not trying to do too much. I learned to slow down. I learned that our children learn throughout their lives, and whilst early intervention was important, Alex wasn't going to suffer if I stopped trying to achieve everything immediately. In fact, I learned that by focusing on the family as a whole and everyone having their needs met, that Alex would be better off as a result. I recognized the skills and resources that we already have as a family and how we can achieve so much more and be happier as a whole if we tap into those resources. I learned that it wasn't about doing more, but being smart about how we include activities within our daily routines. It opened up my eyes to see therapy for what it was. It was about setting goals and using the expertise of our therapists to work towards them. I realized I was trying to do so much without a clear picture of what we wanted to achieve. Along the way, I've also learned that therapy sessions aren't the be-all and end-all. We can be creative and do activities as a family that have a therapeutic benefit, like going to the playground and climbing the monkey bars or doing rock climbing. That is just as beneficial for my son as sitting at the table playing with Theraputty for hand strengthening, and it's so much more fun too for all of my children. These days, I often attend therapy sessions with just the therapist and myself. It's an opportunity for us to speak freely, to discuss challenges and learn strategies that I can take home and implement without needing to take Alex to every session. And it's working really well now that all of my children are at school. And I now get to share what I've learned with other families as a peer worker. We speak to our kids about Williams syndrome and what that means for Alex and what it means for us as a family. We talk about his strengths, like do you wonder why Alex knows everyone's name at school, or why he loves music and loves to dance and make people laugh? These are some of the positives of Williams syndrome. And we talk about how it can also mean things like when he gets angry, he finds it hard to manage his emotions, or he gets really frustrated when he can't do something with his hands, and that's also Williams syndrome. I realized that instead of excluding the other children, we can include them, and then they can actually help us to work towards our goals. The other day, my daughter Annalise signed a card for one of her friends at school, and she then added the dots for Alex so he could sign the card too. My other kids are learning such amazing skills like cooperation and leadership, and Annalise has always been amazing, but she's so much more of a better person because of her involvement with Alex. The benefit of all kids doing things together means that the whole family are involved and support each other, and it just comes naturally that everyone's involved. We know that parents know their children best, but I've learned to recognize that my other kids also know Alex well and have their own ideas and strategies on what can work. When I listen to them and involve them and include their voices, that's when the magic can really happen. There are some non-negotiables for our family now. When choosing new therapists, they must be family-centered and think about what works for us as a whole, and they must want to work in partnership and listen to our family's priorities. I choose therapists who I can learn from and who can teach me skills and strategies to implement at home and in the community. We specify the language that we use to make sure our whole team are on the same page. Our family are our core team. Therapists are a valuable part of our team, but not at the expense of our family. I have the confidence to recognize when a therapist isn't the right fit for our family and make change. On closing, these are the things I want every family to know. Work with your team to build your skills and knowledge. Tell your therapist what you need. They want to be relevant. If you are proactive, you will get the best value from your therapy sessions. Ask your therapist the reasons why they are doing these things so it can make sense to you. Think about what is going to make your life easier and how it can benefit your whole family. Have clear goals to work towards and don't try to do everything at once. Look after yourself too. And finally, believe in yourself. You are the one who can make the difference in your child's life. You've got this. Thank you.